Hello everyone, am I audible? Okay, okay. So I actually don't know which week you are in. So as communicated by Kubra, I supposed to take the week 9 optional part, right? The stream, the last part, optional, and there are few more functions. Those basically I'm going to cover. So let me start with it. So, since quiz 2 is already there, like done, so I think everyone done week 8 stream portion, right? So, I'll go for this optional directly. So, let me share my screen and start. Okay. So, first, I want to motivate that why we should go for this optional, right? So, let me take an example of the stream. Okay. So if you have done stream, you probably understand this code. So this optional class is basically belongs to stream package. So let us think it in a different way. I say, let me take another example which will be easy for you to understand. Let me start with this example. Okay, this is quite easy. Okay, let us see this example. So initially I should have this import dot util dot star and java dot util dot stream dot star. Okay. Now the question is if I have this code like this, I have a list. So initially I take a array, so which will consist of -9, -18, 0, 25, and 4. I convert it into a list, right? So this is a generic list, a list of integers. Then what I do, I convert the list to a string, then try to find out what is the max, right? I try to find out what is the max. Now if a simple way try to run this, it gives me 25. Now what about if I comment this? Now my list is empty, right? My list is empty. What about I run this now? It basically gives me a no such element exception, right? So can you tell me why? Anyone? Anyone? See, there are few functions for which always you will get an answer, right? Suppose you have a list, a stream of numbers, you want to find the sum, right? So you'll definitely get sum. So if the list is empty, you don't have anything, you're going to get a 0. But there are few functions like mean, max, the first element, right? Now think about, if you have some elements, then only you can find the mean, you can find the max, or you can find the first element on the list. If you don't have any elements on the list, so it's a problem, right? It's a problem because you're not going to, this main max or this kind of first element not going to return anything because list is empty. So in that case, it basically throw an exception, it no such element exception, right? So for handling this situation, so if you don't handle it properly, um, suppose I say max. So get is a customized function because it's a stream of integer. It's supposed to return an integer. If you don't find an integer, it's basically throw an exception. But if I do a max, suppose I supposed to always return some value, right? Now what will happen? So suppose I find the max and I want to do some calculation with the max, right? So I need to carry out with the value which is kind of a null value, and there is a high chance I'll come across a null pointer exception. Because if I don't have anything on the list and I run a function which is supposed to return me an element like a min, max, or first, so it's basically return me actually a null. And if I do some operation with a null, I'm going to get a null pointer exception. To save me from that situation, it's basically fire an exception, no such element exception. But what is the good way to handle the situation? Do you get the problem? What is the issue? That there are certain function inside the stream which will always return you a good value, right? Suppose you say sum, average, right? So you're going to get some value for it. If you don't have a value, you get a zero. But what about mean, max, first element, last element kind of a thing? If you have some element, at least one element also, you're going to get a value. But what about if your list is empty? So it's going to return a null basically, right? So now if you further write a code with the return value, so that will fail. That's basically generate a null pointer. So here this optional becomes important. So this optional is basically a class which belongs to this stream class, which basically belongs to this stream class. So you can handle this situation wonderfully if you have a optional. So let me write an alternative version of this code. So how I can beautifully handle this situation. So I'll keep it on a comment because I'll give the entire code to you so that step by step you can understand the rectification, what is happening. So I'll just remove the main because I'm already there in the main. I can remove the bracket also. Okay. Okay, now see about this. Suppose I have something on my list, right? See, in this case, mean, max, everything will work. Now, what I return, I basically return an optional of integer type, right? Now, if I give a return type as an optional integer, that means it will either return an integer or it will return an optional dot empty. It will return an optional dot empty. So this optional dot empty signifies actually do not return anything, right? So let me don't use where because where is the inbuilt kind of a thing. Okay. So now how I basically can deal with or extract the value from the optional. So I need to check either I really get a value or do I have a empty returned, right? So there is a function called as a is present, which is defined within optional, which say if really the value present inside your optional value object v, then print the value, right? But if you don't have a value, means if it is a optional dot empty, then you print a empty list or no such element, whatever you want to print, right? So the idea is quite clear. I get the returned value within an object of optional integer type, so which will hold an integer or an empty, right? Now how do I check, does it have an integer value or you have a empty? So there is a function in the optional which called v dot is present. If this returns a true, that means there is a value inside it. So how can extract the value? You say v dot get. So v dot get, you have seen it, right? I can extract the values in get. Okay. And if you don't have a value, then it's basically write a caution, or you can do something else, right? You say list or fire exception, whatever you want. So now I want to run this and show you. So now my list consists of some numbers. So it gives the maximum number. Now suppose my list is empty, right? So I don't have any value. So it basically shows empty list. Up to this, is it clear to all?
Yes, sir, clear.
Is it clear to all up to this? Okay. Okay. Now I go for, this is not a different thing. It is basically the same one, but I want to show you once because I have created few programs. I used to show them every term because this basically takes care of all kinds of combinations which you can make with the option. Uh, so I use a random number. Yes. Okay. So math.random with a stream.generate. So generate function basically generate a stream. So I want to generate a random stream, right? So limit, basically limit it to 10. So that means I'll be generating 10 random values. Now these 10 random values will be between 0 to 1. I use the max to find out what is the maximum generated value over there, right? I want to find out what is maximum generated value over there. And finally, I want to print it. Finally, I want to print it. So this is the maximum value generated. Similarly, if you just change it to mean, so it gives you the minimum value generated in random. But every run it will change because you are generating a random, right? Okay. Since the generated values are random, because if you just use a random, it generate all the values between 0 to 1, right? Like exclusive to, like 1 is excluding 1, right? It's just below the 1 rather. Okay. Next I go for, so I have already shown you this one. Next I go for showing other options. Okay. So other options basically shows what are the other ways to handle. So you have already seen is present, which says if the value is there, do something, otherwise do something. So there are some more options with the optional you can use to extract the value, and what you do if the value is not there, right? So in this particular case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a function or else, right? Or else is a shortcut kind of a function, right? Which is quite interesting, and a short function, you can say it's reduce your codes, right? So what it do, you capture the max value into optional, right? Then what you say, if the value is there, give me the value, or else give me a 0. So the default value, if you don't have a value, that is 0, right? But if you have a value, that's okay, give that value. So I just want to run and show you. So you get a 25. Now suppose your list is empty, so that gives you a 0. So it's like if you want to make it -1. So if the result is empty, so what is or else you are giving, that value will be printing. So we say technically, um, when is present should be used whenever you have a block. For both the cases, if the value present, you do something, else you do something. There is a number of operations you do in both the cases. But or else you just have a default value, right? The value is there, get the value or give a default. That's all. Okay. Will you want to see the next option? What you can do with the optional? Okay, let me show. This is interesting. So now I want to show you that if the value is there, I'll extract the value. Otherwise, I'll call a function to get me a value, right? So previously I have shown that I'll have a if else kind of a condition based on is present. Then we have seen we can set a default value if the value is not there. Now we are going to see if the value is not there, I can extract the value from a function. Okay. See here. First I can get the max value. Then what I say, or else get, right? Or else get can be assigned to a lambda function. Can be assigned to a lambda function. So you can see it is assigned to some function generator int. So this is the function. So it says if you have the value, that value goes into, if you have the value, that value goes into I. Otherwise, get the value from this function. Get the value from this function. Right. So difference with a default value means you are basically giving the same value every time. It's a constant. But if you write a function, depends, you can basically build a logic. So if you don't have a value, what is the way to find out what should be the default value? Sorry. So if I run this, now I have the values. So it gives 25. Now suppose my list is empty. If my list is empty, it is going to call this function. See, it's a lambda, right? So it basically call this and it gets me the value 0. So I will be getting the value 0. Right. So if I want to put some logic here, so I can obviously put, right? Now, suppose I want to return a value -1 based on my logic. So I can have basically full-fledged code inside my function to get the value. Okay. So this is how I can do it with a function. Next version I want to show you that if value is there, I'll get the value. Otherwise, I'll fire an exception. I'll throw an exception. And the exception could be a predefined exception, or you can have a user defined exception. Okay. So let me have the code first. Okay. Okay. So first I have my list with some values, right? Then I ask for the max. I keep it in a optional, which could be again an integer value or a optional dot empty. How do I know how to deal with the empty? I say if the value is there, then get the value. But if the value is not there, or else what I should do, I should throw an exception. So here basically I'm throwing an illegal state exception. So you can see these are all statements are given like lambda. So be little careful how you do call the lambda. So if you just remember lambda with the colon, we can call the functions which are the static functions, right? Okay. This is a predefined function exception I'm basically throwing. Right. So it basically, what happens? Okay, sorry. It's a V, right? So it's a 25 if I have a value. If I don't have a value, it's throw the illegal state exception. You can also handle it with your created exception. I say uh, empty value exception extends exception. So it is a checked or unchecked exception. If I extend exception, it's a checked
Checked.
exception or unchecked.
Checked.
Anyone? It's a checked or unchecked. Anyone?
Checked, sir.
So if you basically extend your exception class, you're going to have a checked exception. So if you want to make it as a runtime exception, unchecked exception, you need to inherit runtime exception, right? So because I want to to not make it mandatory for my compiler to handle it. So what I want to do, I want to empty empty value exceptions. I just write a constructor. I write a super and I say empty value. So this is the exception will be fired over there. So what I do, uh, I basically fire the exception I have created, empty value exception. And to handle this properly, I can keep it within a try catch. Okay, I'll have empty value exception E, right? I can print is system dot out dot print ln E dot get message, right? So clearly it will fire the runtime exception. No? empty empty value. Oh, sorry. I have made it within the class only. I made it inner class, right? It should not be inner class. It should be a normal class outside only. Okay, so it's basically firing an empty value, right? Empty value exception. So I basically fire the exception. If the value is not there, it go to the catch block and prints the message. Okay, so we saw basically a number of way to handle this optional empty. Now we are going to see. So this is the thing I have basically shown you. Now, how you can utilize this optional dot empty for your code, right? Suppose you're writing a code. I just say about this uh, example I'll show, which is like you're going to do a division, right? So now, if you normally always give the result of a division, but what happens if you try to divide some value with a zero? We say it will fire an divide by zero exception, right? Arithmetic exception. But what about if I try to divide by zero, why not return a optional dot empty, right? Why not return a optional dot empty? I don't say nothing got returned. So this is a huge advantage you can do. You can basically get because you are saying my function is not going to return anything, right? So just write it in a different editor because otherwise my code will go off. So see what I'm doing. So again, I repeat what I want to do. I want to do a simple sorry, this is not the example one what I want to show. This are I have already done. This is generating the value and all. This one I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. Okay. So basically I have a function called as a inverse, right? our inverse. So you can eventually write the division also in the similar way. It's a inverse function. So which takes the inverse of x, means it do 1 by x, whatever the value of x. In a simple manner, if x is 0, so we cannot determine the result, right? So what I want, if x is 0, inverse of x, I want to return a optional dot empty. Means there is no result for this, or I don't know what is the result. Otherwise, I'll return the value, right? So for any value, if you want to convert it into an optional type, the function is optional dot off. Off is the function. So if you pass a double value inside it, then it will become optional double. Then if you pass a integer value inside it, then it will become optional integer. So this depends on what kind of value you're putting inside it. Since it is going to be a double, so we make it as a double, right? So again, I describe it. So it's an inverse function. I have a x. So if x has a non-zero value, so it's basically 1 by x, I get a result. But if x is 0, then it's a 1 by 0. I say optional dot empty. Now, how do I handle it? Right? How do I handle it? So we have basically seen a different way to handle it. The easiest way was if present. Let us first try to use this, right, for handling this situation. I'll comment the rest of the part because I need to describe this part. I haven't described it. Okay. So suppose I have a value, the 2.0. Inverse of 2.0, it's a 1 by 2, I get a 0.5. So I say if the value is there in the val, then print the value. So I'll say get the value. Otherwise, I'll say no result. Right. If it is returning a empty. So first straightforward case, I get a 0.5. Now what about if I pass 0.0? I get a no result. Right. So you have seen few options of how to handle this optional with is present, or else throw, right? There are different. So there is one more option with the optional. You can use the lambda style. That is, it's basically doing again the same thing. So it's like a if else. It's basically presenting the same thing, but in a lambda way. We say if value present. So if the value is v present, then do a v dot the val dot get. If the value is not present, then no result. Then no result. So it's a no result. If the value is there, I'll get the value. Right. So we have seen a number of options to deal with this, but this code is more important because this gives you a way. You may not have seen it in other programming language. It gives you a way to return empty. Means I don't have a result. Right. So this thing probably you have already seen. I'm not going to repeat all this. Maybe a little bit of it. Okay. Okay. So I want to take a different perspective of this because previously in week 8, you have always seen you start with a list or a set or something, then convert it into a stream, then do the operations. Right. But what about now? you start with a you start with a stream but end with a list set or something, right? So you do certain operation with the stream, but you want to collect the result inside a list or inside a set or inside a map. How you can do that, right? So week 8 tells you all about starting with a list, starting with a set, then convert it with a stream, right? So how you do convert a stream, anything to stream? So if it is a list, you say list dot stream, open close bracket, or capital S stream dot off. That also convert a list to a stream. But I want to do the reverse job, that I have a stream. How do I convert it into a list or array or anything else? Okay. So first, let us start with generating a string, right? Because if I want to deal with the string, definitely I need to generate a stream first. So stream could be generated normally in two ways. One is with the stream.generate function, and another is stream.iterate function, right? So stream.generate already I have shown you some time ago. So this is right. Stream.generate also can generate a random string, but if you want something, a stream uh, which you want to generate with a specific value, you normally use a iterate, right? So this iteration looks like a for loop. So it starts with a 0, then the value goes less than 10, and every time the n will be incremented by 1. So it basically starts with a 0 and go up to 9. If you want to just see what are the values inside the stream, you can print it. So for each function means whatever the string generated over here, over that I use a for each, and for each I basically apply the function printf, means each element in the stream will be printed. Oh, sorry. Okay. This is interesting problem. See, always remember, if you are doing stream operations, always the return value will be the final return. So here the last function I'm using, that is a for each. So return of the for each will be the return of the enter stream function, right? Enter statement. So for each basically here could be used to apply some operation on each of the elements, right? It's not going to return anything. So therefore it should be, it should not return anything. So it just generate and print it. So it's basically printing 0 to 9. Now suppose I don't want to print it, just want to generate the stream. So stream.iterate, what it will generate the stream, it will return a stream of integers. So I need to hold it in a integer stream, right? So because now the last function here, iterate generates a stream. So return will be a stream. I'll hold it into a stream integers, right? Now first, suppose whatever the stream is generated, I want to keep it inside an array. How do I generate an array? First, I try to generate an
Sir,
integer array, because the same way I can create a double array, student array, or any array, right?
excuse me, sir.
So I say integers. Integers is basically this integers. It's not the class integer. So this is the class integer. So integers dot to array. Then I define the integer array with dot new, colon new, right? Now once it is converted into a array, I want to print it.
Am I audible, sir?
I say for each integer I in result, print the I.
Hello.
So now this array is getting printed. So typically convert a stream, to an array, right? Just to remember, if it is a double of stream, your this will be double, this will be double, right? This also will be double. That's all. So you can deal with all the integers in the same way. Sorry, all the arrays in the same way. How to deal with the other things like a list, right? how I can hold the result in a list. So this was the code for converting it into a integer array. Now the same integer stream which will have the value from 0 to 9, I want to convert into a list. I'm not saying that it will be converted into a list, but there is also a way you can specifically say which kind of list it is. Similarly, there is a generic way to generate a list set, but you can also specify which kind of set it is. We'll come to know, right? So now integers is my stream dot collect basically converting into a collection. Now the collectors basically says okay, what kind of data structure you want, what kind of collection you want, right? So if you say two list, then you'll get a list. If you say two set, you'll get a set, right? Then since I'm saying it's a two list, it will be converted to a list, just a list, not specifically any list. And I'll be able to print the result. So you can see it's basically converted into a list. There is another example. It's same thing only, just since I have already have this code, just to show it once. It's the same thing again. So I have okay. I wanted to show a different thing over here. So it is stream generate. This is stream of function, right? So it's basically this is the array. So it converts the array into a stream. So this is another way to generate a stream. Of function, right? So it generates a stream of strings. Then I want to convert it into a list. Okay. Same thing you can do for generating a set. So you have to change this collectors to set. So which will generate a generic set, right? Again, nothing specific, like it is not a tree set or any kind of set, it's just a set. Okay. So it's converted into a set. Now same code is there with the of function. You can optionally utilize this code also. It depends on the situation. Like, so I'm giving you all the options, depends on the situation you can select. So this is also two set, means it will generate a generic set. Now how to be specific, like which kind of list or which kind of set I want. I want to be specific. Okay. Now this is specifically I want to generate a tree set, right? I want to generate a tree set. So I take the value from 0 to this, right? Integer array. Then I say collect it into a collect.collectors.to collection tree set. So this gives me specifically a tree set now. But in this case, since the elements are already ordered, so you won't get the effect, right? So maybe we'll use this string one. So where you can see the result clearly of a tree set. So we have this orange, apple, banana, etc. Then I say convert it into a tree set. So the result will be automatically sorted, right? And you can also see this apple having a duplicate, right? So it do not allow any duplicate value. So that's why it is always removed, right? Then you can go for a hash set, right? So as you know, it do not maintain any specific order. Do not maintain any specific order. or you can go for a linked hash set, which will maintain the actual insertion order. So it is orange first, then apple, then banana, then this is removed because this is a duplicate, then apple. So it's basically maintaining the original insertion order, right? So has said do not maintain any order, linked insertion order, reset is a shorted order. So anyhow, it's very much clear that I how I can go specific. So if you want to go for a list, right, the same way I will do, but here you will mention linked list, right, or array list, which specific list you want here also, or you have to take a list. I'm not showing this again because it's very similar thing. You can try and check it out. Okay, next I'll go for an interesting thing. Many a time I need to get statistics, right, statistic with number of elements. Suppose I have number of double values in my stream or number of integers. So I want to take the statistics like so if you want to take a statistic, definitely it will be on some numbers. Okay, so I want to find what is the max value, mean value, average value all together, right? So how I can do this analysis? For doing this analysis, there is a specific class, but always has to be a number type, right? So here I'm taking a int summary statistics, but similarly you can have a double summary statistics, float summary statistics. Now you might be wondering, okay, why I'm taking these strings, but it's not a string because I'm basically doing the summary on the length of them, right? I'm not using the actual string. So I'm basically doing the analysis based on the length of the string, right? So what I do, first I take a string, then I say summarize the length of the string. So what I want to do, I want to find out what is the average length, what is the maximum length, what is the count, number of elements I have, get min, all these kind of things. So this is generating the statistics. You can check out yourself, you can get a number, right, a list of numbers, and try to find out how it can work for you, right? So in that case you may not have to pass this. So it basically generate statistics on a stream. Again I repeat, if your stream is of an integer type, so you get a int summary statistic. If it is of double type, then you have got a double summary statistics. So float summary statistic, but it has to be a number type. That's an important thing. Okay. Okay, I have another with numbers. So I have a stream of integers that's basically 0 to 9, right? So I want to do summarizing with the integer values, and I want to print all these things. So 0 to 9 it is, right? So 4.5 is the average, the max is 9, minimum is 0. So I'm getting all this summary over here. Now, what is left? So we have discussed about converting stream to collections, right? Where we have discussed how I can go for a list, how I can go for a set. But we haven't discussed how to go to a map, right? So that is a bit interesting because a stream normally having a list of single values, right? But whenever I want to go for a map, then it is a key value pair. So some way I need to separate them as a key value pair, right? That has to be there. Okay. So there are two way I can do it. One is group by and one is partition by. So if you have done DBMS previously, you might know how the group by works, right? So it's very much similar way it basically works. I want to show you how you can do this. This is how do I use it for, just I'll run and show once. This is not what I'm saying. This is another way to use the statistic. So previously what we have seen, in this example, previous example, I have done it with an integer values. I've done it with the strings, converting into the integers with the length function, right? Now suppose I want to get a statistics with my user defined class, right? So I have an employee class and I want to get a statistics on the age, right? So I define a accessor function which will return the age, right? And I create my employees. Then I say for these employees, give me statistics about the age. So how do I say? I say employees.stream, then collect the statistics on employee colon colon get age. So it's basically give you the age to get the statistics. So I get how many employees I have, what is the count of the like sum of the ages, what is the minimum age, max age, and what is the average age. Sorry. List mean I need to import java.util.star and summary I need to import dot util dot sorry small stream. Capital stream is a class, small stream is a package. Okay, so this is the statistics on the age. Okay. 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 Now I go for the map. Okay. So for map, I'm going to use the same employee class and I'm going to use this group by clause. If you have done DBMS, try to relate this, right? So I have two functions here, get age and get name. Okay, so this is the same employee class, name and age. Extra I have a get name also. So I populated this object so that I can get a list of employees. I got a stream out of it. Then what I'm doing, I want to convert it into a map, right? So map supposed to have two elements. One is key, another is value. So interestingly, that's why you can see I have kept two things. I have kept a age and kept a name. If you have multiple value, one value you need to decide as a key, another value you have to decide as a value, right? So I say the first thing I give, that is the key. The second thing I give, that is the age, right? So for each employee, the name will be converted to a key and age will be converted to a value. So you can see this becomes as a key value pair where each name is becoming a key and the value is becoming like a value. Age is becoming like a value. So now again, if you look at the function, it is the same function, right? To map. Previously we have seen to set, to list, right? Again, I'm not specific which kind of map I want. I just say a map. But here little bit complicacy is that I need to give which will be the key and which will be the value. Okay. Next, I want to show you the group by, which is another way to create map. See again, I have the same thing. Get age, get name. I have a two string. so that I can directly call an employee. Now what I am doing here, see, this up to this it is exactly same. Then I'm converting my employees into a string, right? Now I say age dot collect. Then I say group by. Now I say group by age of the employees. Now same age people will be grouped into a single group, right? Now remember, if you look at this, 30 there is Alice, but 25 there is Bob and Charlie. So again 25, so 25 is the key. Against that I'll have two objects. But against 30 I'll have only one object. Against 40 I'll have one object. Against 35 I'll have one object. So this is the grouping happening. The grouping is happening by the age. See the group. 35 is the key. Your object is E with 35. 40 is the key. Your object has David and 40. 25 is the key. Now you are having two objects inside it. Right. Now I make it bit interesting. Suppose I make it 30. This is also 30. I add one more. I make it 35. I say uh, what I should say, John 35, right? So if I run it, okay, what happened?
Sir,
30.
last one, line number 29th, comma. We don't need a comma over
Hmm,
there.
okay, against 35, you're having just one element, John. Against 25, you're having two objects. Against 30, you're having three objects. So this is how it is doing the grouping by the clause called age, right? So for the same age, all the employee objects will be kept together. So that is what you do by group by. Another option is you can do a partition by, where you can give a predicate. Where you give a predicate. You say there will be one group if the predicate is true. There will be another group where the predicate is false. Please prepare this group by and these things very thoroughly, because we ask a lot of questions on this, and this is useful also many ways. Okay, I have exactly same thing. There is no difference with the code, employee code, get age, get name, to string, etc. Now I say partition by, and here you can clearly see there is a condition. Condition is age should be less or equal to 30. Now there will be two keys. One key will be true, another key will be false. So for all the object the condition is true will be grouped under the true. There will be another group for false. All the object for which the condition is false will be grouped under another. Okay. So let us check this. So you can see this 30, 25, 25 will come, and David and Eve will be separated in the false, right? So for false, you can see David and Eve came up, and for true, you are having Alice, Bob, and Charlie, right? So partition by basically works on a condition or predicate. So there will be one group for true, another group for false. I think that's end the thing. So I can take any question if you have. Anything you want to ask? Yeah, Sandeep Kumar, yes. Do you have a question, Sandeep? Sandeep Kumar, do you have a question? Okay, if you don't have, we can close this. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Sandeep, do you have a question? Shall we close? Otherwise,